All right, we are here with the Teflon Tales as usual, 5:30 p.m. Pacific on Wednesdays. Today, my guest is Jared M. Greer. Welcome, Jared.
Thank you, Ashwin. Happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
So I'm going to start off with how you and I connected. It was actually, if I recall right, you were being interviewed by somebody in your family to see whether you had what it you had what it took to become a father.
Yeah.
And I believe you barely passed. And then you posted that video, and then I just had to respond to that. So again, that's by way of introduction. But I'm going to add one more thing, and then I'm going to hand over the mic to you, which is I responded to that, and then you did something which is highly unusual, which wanted me to reach out to you, right? Which is you created a video direct message. And for me, that spells so much because number one, you've taken the time to actually create something for me. It's not a cut and paste, right? And it shows that you're engaging with your. So I'm going to stop over there. So talk a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then how you've come to where you are right now in terms of how you engage with people.
Oh gosh, I mean that's a lot right there. Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, I really appreciate it. It means a lot to that anything that I put out gets the attention of people like yourself, and just the video that you referred to, where my daughter, my 9-year-old, was interviewing me for the role of a parent, was probably one of my greatest achievements in the video world, because I just love her to death and love to spend time with her. So I'm a coach. I have a coaching and training company. We work with working parents to help them get it done in really both areas of the, of their life, the home stuff and then the work stuff as well. Because in my view, it doesn't make sense to have one without the other, and the trade-offs are just they're too many trade-offs are being made in too many homes. And so helping, whether they own a business or, they're just trying to get that next level in their career, really helping people to figure it out and balance it all. That's the name of the game. That's what we're here to do.
All right. So we got a George is here. Hey, George. Nice
Hey,
to see
George.
you. Awesome videos, man. On the data side, you're killing it. Thanks for joining us. So, Jared, I'm going to ask you, and again, this goes back to what the Teflon Tales is about, which is really to talk about how you and I and everybody out there can live a Teflon life, which is really how do you get hot really fast, remain detached, cool down, stay balanced, and stay flexible. So, you mentioned something, and it's timely because I said, hey, hold the thought. We got to talk about it on the show, which is about a video that you posted. Talk about what went on behind the scenes to create the video, but then also talk about how you're being Teflon in terms of how the video is being received right now.
Yeah. So, and if I'm just understanding the concept behind Teflon is, bad things happen. We can't just let it just chew at us. We've got to kind of pick up and move on, right?
Correct, exactly.
So, really good example. Recent, again, a long string of Teflon experiences for me. But I just posted a video today. It's a video I spent a lot of time on. It's really focusing on helping working parents to understand their boundaries and have healthy boundaries. I posted it from a vanity metrics perspective. It's not doing great compared to other videos. And of course, as a creator, as somebody who spends in many cases hours to get some of these videos together and put them out, you want to see the traction, you want to see the reach, you want to see it, the engagement. And it didn't compare as well to some of the others. But it's in those moments where it's such a small, isolated event that it's kind of like, okay, great, that's this one. What did I learn? I can evaluate, what could I have done differently? And then I can look for some adjustments and changes next time. And oddly enough, I actually don't think that the issues with this one are video related. I think it's more my activity on the platform related, which kind of goes back to how we got connected. Sending you a video DM, I try to really build a lot of connections, a lot of real life relationships on the platform. And sometimes that's not super scalable, right? Because it does take that time to send a video DM and have that conversation and that back and forth. And so finding the time to still go out on the platform and engage with people and have those types of conversations. You know, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a dad, as a husband, it can be challenging to find that kind of time. And so I had a stretch before I posted this video where I just hadn't been doing a ton of that. Mm-hmm. And so I really think that's probably the biggest, impact that affected the video. But you move on, right? The important things I've taken care of, and those things are in check. And so, this is just me playing on a platform almost, right?
So Jared, so you mentioned something over here about moving on, right? One of the biggest challenges, and I can speak to a lot of people that I meet, and I was in the same space many, many years ago, right? Which is taking too long to make that first step, right? And versus doing these short experiments, seeing what works and continuing to pivot on. So talk a little bit about, again, given your pivotal role as a coach, is how do you get people who are stuck in a rut? Okay, and if you spend 10, 20 hours on one video and doesn't get anything, you go back into the rut, versus, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this, right? And see what resonates. So how is the journey translated for your clients?
Yeah, let me dial back a little bit and actually talk on that, just that concept in general. I'm very much a shoot from the hip kind of guy. I kind of am going to make the decision, and then I'll figure out how I'm going to do it. And that's, for whatever reason, good or bad, that's kind of been the way I've done things. I can go all the way back to 2011, when my boss at the time was only giving me praise, only telling me good things. But I wanted to get feedback. I wanted to get criticism. And I asked for it, and I didn't get it. So I literally picked my entire family and moved to Washington. Lateral move to work for somebody who was going to give me that feedback. Well, fast forward 4 years, I got laid off from a job there. Our entire company went into a huge downsizing. I got laid off. I started working for a consulting firm. And I sat on the metro one day in DC, and I looked around at the faces on the metro, and I had the thought, how long before my face looks like theirs? People were miserable. They were miserable. Went home that night, talked to my wife. Hey, do we want to be here? Is this what we want for our family? We weighed all of our options. 8 weeks later, we moved into our house in Raleigh. We got out of there. And so when we think about what you're talking about, is how do you get people to make that first move?
Yep.
First of all, that's super hard, because there's so much fear and worry, and what happens if, and what if it doesn't work out? And we fear the work and the process and the outcomes. We fear all of that. But to answer your question, how do we make that first step? It's the same question that I asked my wife. Do we want to be here? Is this what we want? And so asking ourselves those questions of, is this what you want? If you lived every day like you lived today, would you arrive at your destination?
Yeah.
Right. And if not, what would it look like? Because a myth is that we're cruising. We're just complacent. We're comfortable.
Right.
We're not. We're either improving or we're declining. There's no cruise control. Complacency is digression. And so we work with all of our clients. Very first, vision. What are you trying to accomplish? What do you really want? Not just one aspect. We can talk about our careers and say, I want to hit this level, I want to hit that level. But we think big picture. When you retire, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Who's there with you? What are you able to do? How much money have you made? What type of life are you living? How does it feel? What's the relationship like with your spouse or your partner? What's the relationship like with your kids? And once you get people thinking big picture, vision like that, then it's really easy, after they've been thinking that big picture, to say,
what do I have to do? Yeah.
Is where you're at right now going to get you there? And they say, nope. So then we move from there, but that's where we start. Vision. And end goal, right? Where are we trying to go? What's our destination?
And it's so true. In fact, I think I'm going to show what George said, right? Yeah, I mean, I love Nike's motto. Just do it, right?
If it only were that easy, right, George?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
come
know.
on.
It's like, but it's one of those things, right? Which is as you kind of you said, right? You got to get people to think about the big vision. One of the things I've seen, right, and I'm in tech, is you have product roadmaps, you have quarterly incremental releases, right? You have
Yes.
CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous development. And when I first started writing, I just said, hey, you are the product. Have you hit GA? Are you generally available? Is this the final release, or is
Yeah.
it a dot release, right? And then the whole CI/CD, hey, the cloud is all around us. Like, okay, it's all about continuous integration, continuous development. Are you doing that to yourself? Where are you getting the data? Like your videos, right? It's like, are
Huge.
you getting the data? Are you using that? Are you integrating that? And how are you developing yourself, right? So it's for me, the dichotomy was so stunning. It's like, hey, we build fantastic products, but if you were to if you were the product, then the same principles don't apply, right?
So
It's
so true. So I mean, you're exactly right. We don't, and that's why we use business all the time, business, and we use sports teams, because what we're trying to do in business and what we're trying to do on a sports team is so crystal clear. And when we think about what we're trying to do personally and individually, we're like, yeah, we just want to be happy. We just want to live fulfilled, whatever that means. Instead of getting granular and thinking about I mean, from a tech perspective, you nailed it, right? If you're going to create this product, you've got an idea of what that looks like. And from that idea, you start to build that backwards and hit those milestones that let you know you're on the right track. So yeah, that's a perfect analogy.
So going back to a post, and I have it over here, so I'm going to read it out, right? And this was thought provoking. If you could go back, would you make different choices? And you continue saying, I think you would. Lucky for you, today you have a new set of choices that will either protect your future or destroy it. Most of us pretend that we have very little choices. But I think you talked about four things, which is have a crystal clear vision, determine and live your values, establish empowering beliefs, and then build automated habits, right? So for me, that is a framework that I think we can all live by. But my question to you is, from how do you help, and I think you talked about a little bit before about talking about what do you look like when you retire, but the values and beliefs are something that don't surface very often, right? And how do you kind of lift them? So for me, I mean, it took me whatever better part of 25 years to actually say, okay, I can put my mission statement in my top LinkedIn profile, right?
Yeah.
And but it took a lot of courage, number one, but it took a lot of failure too, to come to the reckoning, okay, this is not who I am. Be talking about my title isn't who I am. Talking about how much money I've made isn't who I am. Then who am I? So talk a little bit about that.
So first of all, you get like mad points for pulling up a post of mine where I'm like, did I write that? Okay, all right, great. And then you've got my core four in there. So like, are you ready to go deep in this, Ashwin?
I am. Hopefully the listeners are too.
Because holy man, the core four, that's what I call them, the core four, right? Vision, values, beliefs, habits. And you said it would be great to kind of live along that, right? Everybody already is. So whether consciously or subconsciously, we already are. We use those core four, and I'll explain them. Vision, where are we trying to go? Values, the type of person we are. That's our identity. Our beliefs, that's how we think about ourselves, other people, our circumstances, and then our habits. So, but there's such a tight relationship between all four of those. So think about it like this. If I'm at your house and you and I decide to go to the store, we've now established a vision. We want to go to Target. Okay, we know exactly where that is. We know the route to get there. So we have a vision. Now we can get in your car and we can drive incredibly recklessly. We can hit the gas. We can run every red light. We can just drive over the curbs, right? Or we can be obedient. We can follow the rules. We can be cautious. We can be careful. Those are our values. It's the way that we go about doing things. Same thing in business, same thing in, you can be a shady person, you can be a crummy person. Those are values, right? That's how you do things, the pursuit of what you value. Okay. So then our beliefs, that's how we think about ourselves. That's how we think about other people, our circumstances. Oh, this is the best route. This is the worst route. This is, this driver in front of me is this way. My backseat driver is the worst. All of the beliefs.
Yeah.
And then our habits. Those are the actions that we actually take. Okay. Now, here's what happens. We get in that car and you decide we're going to Target and we're going to be, good citizens, and we're going to drive appropriately. Mm-hmm. But inevitably you encounter a yellow light, where then you can either speed up or you can slow down. Everything determined in that moment depends on your belief. Do you believe you can make the light? Do you believe you can't make the light? Because a belief that you can't, you hit the brake. A belief that you can, you hit the gas. So similarly, in life, we experience these moments that is that yellow light, this decision point. Do I leave Washington, D.C.? It all depends on my belief. I won't be able to find another job. Nobody will pay me enough. Moving will be too hard. So all of those, I'll hit the brake. However, if I believe I'll have more quality time with my family if I move, I can find work anywhere. I'm very hireable. I hit the gas. So when we're coaching people, whether it's in their relationships or in their business, we're looking at that process. Are you clear about where you're trying to go? Are you clear about who you are? And then what are your beliefs about yourself, others, your circumstances? Do you believe the market is, think about COVID. Nobody can win during COVID. Nobody's buying during COVID. Nobody buys during the holidays. Those are all beliefs that then cause us to hit the brake. What do we do when we believe that nobody buys during COVID? Well, we stop trying to sell, because why would we, right? We generally don't do things that we don't think will work, generally, right? Unless we're trying to appease a boss, which is a completely different format, right? But so people don't understand that belief, that's the hijacker of the vision.
Yeah.
So everybody out there's, I want to have a good job. I want to arrive at the beach with my family when I'm 80 years old. They know the type of person they want to be, but then they believe when the alarm goes off, oh, I don't have to get up right now. They believe when they're presented with an unethical situation. They believe that if they don't do it, then they'll lose their job and their livelihood and they won't be able to recover. So it hijacks the intention of the vision. Their actions follow the belief. And then they've just now really jeopardized their entire opportunity to realize that vision.
Wow. Yeah. So that is deep, but I think there's so much to unpack. So I have to go and hit rewind and go through this. Talking about something that, again, it clearly wasn't in your traditional habit thing, but it clearly aligned with your beliefs. And I'm going back to something that you, Alex, and Matt started, which is the improv show, right? And LinkedIn, professional, improv, stand up, you ask the audience for ideas and you play it out.
Yep.
If that isn't crazy experimentation, if that isn't living, but again, the point is, where you want to get to, you're going to take every path that allows you to get there, right? And so talk a little about, number one, why? Number two, what have you learned from that? And number three, how does somebody who doesn't have the courage to do an improv show start doing their own small improvs to get to that better state?
Yeah. I would say interesting thing about the improv is that I don't think that we got real clear on a specific destination other than, hey, this would be fun to do. Yep. So our vision really became,
how fun.
This would be fun, right?
Yeah.
And let's see where it goes. And obviously you can think big picture. The values is, we do try to keep it clean. We try to keep it focused on business. So that's how we do it. We try to give valuable insights as well as good improv. So that's the how. The belief is there's an appetite for it. People want to see it. The belief is we're funny And whether that's true or not, right? That's the other thing about beliefs. It doesn't matter if they're true or not. They might be totally true.
Yeah.
All that matters is, do we believe them, and are they empowering beliefs that then cause us to take the action? So we think we're funny enough. Admittedly, I watched some of them back and I'm like, that wasn't funny. But that's the way it is, right? So overall, that's kind of how that formula would plug in there. What I've learned about the improv show, and I think this, Ashwin, has been a little bit of a surprise. Probably the number one feedback that I get from it is, you guys look like you're having so much fun, and people just don't seem to be having that much fun these days.
Interesting.
And
Very interesting.
it's been a little bit of a surprise. Like, people come to watch it because it's fun. And we were talking before we started going live, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's rough out there for a lot of people in so many different ways. And so that's what I've learned most, is the value of just humor and just putting yourself out there and spreading your joy and message and light, because everybody does have something that somebody else can learn from, glean from, enjoy, all of that.
Very interesting. So one last question, and again, this goes back to something you had mentioned earlier, right? Which and there is no easy answer to this, but I kind of look at it, and by the way, I'm going to post what Anba said about having fun, right? Sometimes it's like, hey, so how, and this goes back to one of the core tenets of Teflon, which is cooling down really fast. As an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, as somebody who's trying to get somewhere, right, or trying to craft something new, or going from 5-figure to 6-figure to 7-figure business, it's always about pushing, right? And then you mentioned something earlier about video DMs taking time, and then you taking the time off to actually have some downtime to create this video. How do you cool down really fast? And if you don't, we all know the results of that, right? I mean, mental health issues, and especially now with people holed up at home, and like you mentioned, businesses disappearing and so forth. So again, how does that Teflon characteristic, what have you seen both in your life as well as your clients?
Yeah, from a life perspective, my business is like third in my priority list. Right? Like, it's my wife, my family. I'm a spiritual man. It's God. And then it's my business. And at the end of the day, you are not going to see me down or depressed or sad if my wife is happy, my kids are safe and fed, and we're all together. Like, you just, nothing else is going to really have that much of an effect on me. But it goes to another question that you asked earlier of like, how do people have that courage to start doing something? And we teach with all of my clients, we teach them that when we take action, the mistake is to see failure, right? So we can, and when we think about heating up and cooling down, you try something, it doesn't work out. Now you're all fired up and you feel like a failure. However, whenever we take action, we should always be looking for three things. Number one, we should look for something that we learned, right? What do we learn from this situation? Yes, I totally botched it. I got fired. Whatever happened, what did I learn? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, no matter what, we should be looking for uncovering new opportunities. So did I meet somebody new? Did I make a new connection? Did I come up with a new kind of cool concept or framework? So even though the big thing didn't work out, did I uncover a new opportunity? And then the third is look to actually realize the success that you intended. So if you took action and you accomplished what you set out to accomplish, then you should be thrilled. And the lens that we want our clients to look through is those three. Because if you do, you never see failure. And failure then causes you to start thinking, well, I'm not good enough. Well, I'm not smart enough. I don't belong here. All that garbage, right? And so when we think about learning something new, uncovering new opportunity, or realizing success, well, now I feel great because I learned something, because I have a new opportunity. And when we feel good, then we now have taught our brain, hey, I'm going to do that again. So now I go and I take more action, which means I then learn more things, uncover more opportunities, have more success. And now I've built a habit of taking action. And guess what? That compounds. That compounds over time to where somebody calls you up and says, hey, do you want to do an improv show? And you're like, well, I've never done improv, but what the hey? Well, let's do it. Why not? So you just become more routine because I'm going to learn something, I'm going to uncover new opportunity, or I'm going to realize success.
And that's an amazing cycle that you just laid out there. Okay. By the way, you should do that on the improv show. You should do a video on that.
I have a video on it.
Go. Okay. So
courage versus confidence. Go check it out because it's one of actually my best videos out there. But it teaches that concept because the alternative is that we don't take action, we beat ourselves up, and then we're more fearful, which then just leads to more of our self-depreciating, and our comfort zones shrink. And then we're getting invited to, hey, do you want to come out to this networking event? And we're like, no. Are there going to be people there? No. No.
Hey, so that just leads me to something else that you should use, which is, you mentioned depreciation. Asset depreciation. You are the asset. Are you depreciating yourself? I mean, so it's one of those things, right? It's like we use all these terminologies, everything external. But once you kind of focus it on yourself, whether it's technology, whether it's sports, whether it's finance, like it's like suddenly, oh wow, am I depreciating? It's like, have you checked out? What are you doing, right? In terms of amazing.
So I heard a quote, actually not too long ago, but it said, "Truth is never created; truth is discovered." And so for me, I think of everything that I come across, every concept that in my weird way, I kind of knit together. It's not mine. I didn't create it. I discovered it in a way that's relevant to me that I can then share with others. So everything that I do in my business, I do it in a way that can be repeated. It's the backdrop. We have other coaches who coach with us. They use that our same formula and our same concepts. So like the courage cycle that I just described to you, the vision values that are core 4, those are all the backdrop, whether we're working with a business client or working with an executive or an entrepreneur. And then we've built that in a repeatable way that it doesn't have to always be me. We can have another coach who comes in, understands the concepts, can teach the concepts, and can help people have the same kind of breakthroughs. Because you're right. I mean, I'm one person. I can't be scalable in the way that, a program can be scalable. But I love coaching. I will always coach. You probably, at any point in my career, will still get a video DM from me because I like to connect.
I know. It's like, and one last thing, and this is something that I think, going back to, you discover stuff along the way, right? Which is, you send me a video DM, I'm compelled to send you back a video DM because you put yourself out there saying, okay, hey, you know what? I've taken the time to do this, and I feel compelled to do it. I don't do it with everybody, right? Yeah. I do it with you. I do it with Alex, and people who send video DMs, I send video DMs back, right? But I think you start that positive cycle of getting people to naturally slow down, engage, and then I mean, you and I, like, we just connected less than a couple of months ago, and here you are. Say, hey, we need to chat live.
Do it.
Very cool.
Jared, I think, can I make one comment on that? Because I think this is so relevant, and it's such a good example given the state of our nation and the challenges that we have every single day between people. That what you just described demonstrates one principle that we really, really need as a country and as individuals to understand, is that our behavior invites the same behavior. 100%. So you hit the nail on the head. You felt like, hey, I should send him a video message back because my actions invited you to do so. Yeah. I didn't outright say, hey, send me a video DM back, right? Like, let's do this. But you felt that. And when we are kind, when we're loving, when we're patient, when we're empathetic, we invite the same. When we're judgmental, when we're when we're condescending, when we're angry, when we're upset, we invite the same in our fellow statesmen, in our fellow citizens, in our homes, with our spouses, with our kids. So we really, really have to be thoughtful about our behaviors and what is it inviting in others.
Well said, man. This is deep stuff. I got to go and listen to this again. But again, Jared, so grateful you could join us. Again, I know it's late for you.
My
Thanks.
pleasure. Absolutely loved it, Ashwin.
All right, and keep doing those videos, mate.
I don't plan on stopping unless I get banned or kicked out. I mean, who knows?
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Ashwin. See ya.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.